get it.
Mbijan raganya.
Albaka.
Mbaka important.
Yo, nga transfer la sto.
Ya transfer la.
Ha, code nyingi.
Okay. What's that? Nsila ID soto.
That's sorry. I get it.
Mbijan bro.
Albaka.
Mbaka.
Bara Allah service o tariya.
Mbare.
Mo ki janna nun kunu bara tariya.
Jannom yona forest de bureau. Gambia tonkon na no mbari ya bere. Birim koyna fo kato.
Bari si kodo kino kato ni fo bolong labe.
56 branches mola soto Gambia jam.
Ha?
Gambia kono ani Gambia bankala bankol. Nko kodo kiya bere. Kodo sifa fo palindiro fo nyaadi lafta même na kodi to poto nin kodi maraw. Jannom number 1 ti nyonta. Andum fana nata anoda enterprise sotale. Wolam nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale de dadi mani domorol din fana beteat. Gambia dawda yalo ngam fa kendol sotale je.
Wo moyo diat ha.
Apelenta
baraka. Ni ma lafta nyelen kendol e bina.
Yalo bukani la ko la baraka ba.
Yalo ndel ciosano lo.
Baraka.
Him that the last time he sent the money, it was not enough to buy all the provisions.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell him.
Are you guys talking about money transfer to buy provisions?
Yes.
But don't you know about Baluwo?
Baluwo? What is Baluwo?
Baluwo is a service that your son can use to send provisions directly to you guys from the shop. And you don't have to worry about the exchange rate.
Tell me how Baluwo works.
It's very simple.
Just log on to baluwo.com and shop, or download the app on your phone. You can shop on the website or using the app to buy online basic products for your family and friends. With Baluwo, you decide what your money is spent on. Your money, your choice. Buy online products for your family and friends in the Gambia, Senegal, Nigeria or Mali. Baluwo, better than sending money.
For the first time in the history of the Gambia, Gambia Printing Publishing Corporation proudly introduces the Bibliomatic exercise book printing machine. The machine has the capacity to print more than 20,000 books per hour. Yes, 20,000 books per hour. It also prints magazines, newspapers, calendars, flyers, normal books and all kinds of printed documents plus items at affordable prices. With the Bibliomatic printing machine, GPPC can now render high quality and non-size restricted printing service supply across the sub-region. Rush now and partner with GPPC for all your public and private printing service needs. Print with us today and you'd be offered highly professional, reliable and efficient service delivery by our team of experts. The Gambia Printing and Publishing Corporation is here to meet all demands and is reliable at all times. For more info, contact us on 437-4493 or 437-4402. GPPC is Gambian and it's yours.
Brunch and a happy Ramadan to everybody. That's the wishes from us because today being the first edition of Ramadan. To our Christian brothers, we say, well, continue to have a blessed Lent. This is the Brunch, your current affairs program that comes weekly at this time here on Kerr Fatou Live. I'm Lavin Chan. This week, we introduced a new aspirant for mayor of Banjul in the local government elections coming on May the 20th. We will talk also about the current issues, example, the local government area council commission that is coming up. We also bring you updates on President Barrow's controversial comments on audits. The replies, the comments, the analysis, and the opinions of our panelists will come your way. This is the Brunch. Welcome. Now, Ebrima Jawo. Well, the name and the face definitely is familiar with Gambians who have been following, especially GRTS when it just started. There was a very popular Gambian-grown and Gambian-made theme, I would say, or episodes of drama that he really featured in, and he was a prominent actor, a leading role in that. So Ebrima became a popular and very famous face on our screens. Since then, though, he's been away from the country, but he came back in a spectacular way because he said he wants to be mayor of Banjul. He's with us in the studio. Ebrima, welcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cham. It's a pleasure to come to Kerr, Fatou. My greetings to the other panelists, Mr. Jawo and is it Buba?
Yeah. I'm going there.
All right.
Okay. You are very keen on having it.
All right.
Mustapha Darboe of Malagen, award-winning journalist, investigative journalist, is with us in the studio, and he will update us on what is Malagen's next line of investigation, and of course, what is his opinions on the issues of allegations of corruption that he had so diligently covered in Malagen. We have, of course, our friend, our familiar face, familiar guest in the studio, Sait Matty, political science lecturer at the University of the Gambia, who has been following all the twists and turns of election matters, including this one coming, the local government elections. We are well into nominations for councillors. We will discuss all about that. Now, Mr. Jawo, welcome once again.
Thank you, Mr. Cham.
Where have you been? President Barrow's famous question too. Where have you been? Or where were you?
Yes.
Until now you are entitled to look for the job of, mayor. Okay. Where have you been? Because even myself, I didn't see, I asked people, where was Jawo? A brilliant actor on our screens then, during the early days of the of GRTS.
I left the Gambia, Mr. Cham, in 2001 to further my studies.
Oh, that's a good 22 years.
About 22 years. But I have been coming every 3 months.
Okay.
I'm a regular visitor. I still have my house here in the Gambia and everything, so I come quite regularly and participating in all the local activities that are happening, particularly in Banjul.
Oh, really?
So yes, everything that's happening in Banjul, even during the last political campaign, the presidential and parliamentary elections, I was down here. I was here, I think in Jan. I left in Jan, and then here am I again. So I went to further my studies, as I said, in the UK. So I was there for the past 22 years or so. Yeah.
That's what happened. Now, what people are keen to ask is, you were a homegrown, brilliant actor at the time. Did you continue acting in the United Kingdom?
Yes. When I went to UK, I did acting and directing, a HND in acting and directing at Leicester College. So after that, I went to do my first degree. I got a degree in social work. From there, I went to do masters in youth and community studies because, you may possibly be aware that when I was doing my acting and all that, I was a youth activist.
Exactly.
I was in the National Youth Council and all of that. So, and I was also a social worker. So I decided to kind of get qualifications in those areas. And when I was in the UK, of course, I did some acting there. As I said, I did acting and directing. But, with the English kind of type of dramas and shows, they're completely different from what I was doing in the Gambia. And again, when it comes to, acting on television, I had quite a lot of experience. And even at college level, the tutors used to say to me, are you sure you're not already qualified doing this? Honestly, because I felt like, I was above everyone else in the class. Because those people that were there were kind of beginners, and I had already backed up quite a lot of experience. So yes, I did some acting, but I think it was at a different level from where I was.
Let's go back to those days a little bit before we come. Your roles have always been very interesting and comical, if you like, the time. What was the name of the episode again?
We had Persecure.
There was one where you were notorious for chasing women.
Yes. I think that was Topas and Nafsu. Yes. That was Topas and Nafsu. Yeah. Topas and Nafsu, Groups and Nahar. What happens is, at the time, we wanted to defeat the corruptions that was happening in society. I am still a member of Yete Drama Group, which was the drama group that acted, that was doing the acting. And what we used to do is look at some of the ills that were happening in society and see how best we dramatize that in order to sensitize the people of what was happening. So I happens to be the one that would possibly get some of the notorious roles. And
you are very good as a woman.
Yeah, I mean,
or your character.
Yes, the character, not me personally. That's for me anyway.
I hope like it happened to every actor. So everybody think
that
is you.
I'm completely different. And this is the thing. I think people sometimes cannot divorce or separate the person that's acting, your acting character from you as the real person. So you tend to see that quite a lot. And sometimes I would be, in those days I used to walk on the streets and people would be like, Mama yare, yo def li, really, auditor bim kind watan li, people would bring those things. And with me, I'm full of fighter. When I finished acting, it's like I was wearing some kind of gown. When I finish, I put that out, and that's it. And then I move on, and then do my normal activities, carry with my job, and then I'm a father, I'm a responsible person. So when I'm out in society, I'm out in society. The Jawo you see on television, on your screens, is different from the Jawo that you know in reality.
Absolutely. Well, let's go now to contemporary matters. Now, you must have been following the evolution in Gambian politics. When you were starting that career, we were, well, at the beginning of what turned out to be a brutal dictatorship by all standards. But you've been away for long. How have you been following the later part of the Jammeh regime, and then, of course, the advent of the Barrow regime through elections?
We were all, in the struggle, if I'm really honest. As the Wolof would say, to be bu genyo gi nekut loxo borom du si jok. I mean, no matter how far we were still kind of so grounded in the sense that we were in tune with the realities on the ground. So I myself, together with Ajimaka and others, we were working with Fatou Fatou Radio, and we used to go out there, talk about history, and again we will see how best we kind of connect that to politics and look at the realities that were happening and look at historically things that had happened here in the past, how like our elders and senior citizens resolve issues, looking at things that were happening at the time, things that Jammeh was doing, and then we will see how best we were relating those to things that had happened in the past. So we were doing that through the Fatou network. And again, of course, I was quite vocal, and I was on social media condemning some of the stuff that were happening. And, family would always be quite worried, and it was stressful for them whenever one is coming on vacations or coming to visit. So they would be like, you need to be careful, everyone knows who you are, and you're saying this about Gorgi, Yangewali Singurgi, and all that. But as Gambians, we needed to be a voice, and we needed to kind of get ourselves involved in fighting the status quo that we had at the time. So when it came to the last elections, the 2017 presidential elections, we were out there in public, and we actually did Facebook Live. If you go check on Facebook, you will see some of us out condemning the government, and then again enlightening Gambians on the ground of things that were happening, because many people were in the dark as to things that were happening. So, some of us stepping forward and informing them of things that were happening, I think, was quite helpful. And then we had a change in regime. We were all hopeful that, we would see quite a lot of changes happen when it comes to institutional reforms and things like that. I wouldn't say we're disappointed, but I think a lot needs to be done in relation to that area.
Good. Now, and we go straight into politics. You came back a couple of weeks back, and like I said, you expressed interest to run for mayor for the PPP. Let me ask you, I'm keen to know, why do you think you would be a good mayor? I know, of course, you were involved in Banjul's politics, even after the changes in groups like Tahawal, Banjul, stuff like that. Sure. But why do you think you need to put your heart in the ring?
Okay. I believe Banjul is politically divided, and as a Banjulian, I am the only one out of everyone that is in the political field now vying for this mayorship that can possibly unify Banjul.
How divided is Banjul? And into which groups? Into what kind of groups?
If you go to space and look down, you will see how divided we are politically.
If I go to space.
Yeah, go to space and look down.
Look down.
You will see the divide between us.
I will recruit the help of astronauts
to do that
to
for
do
you.
that, yeah.
Honestly, we're very, very divided. You've got quite a lot of pockets and camps in Banjul.
Okay.
I don't want to be personal.
I don't know Banjul.
Banjul, you don't know politics. Yeah. What happens is,
Banjul
I mean,
politics.
we've got Rohilo as our mayoress. You've got Ibu Faye that's also vying on the NPP. Ibu Faye's background is sports, and we know that he manages the stadium and all of this. We've got quite a lot of Nawetan teams. So generally, many people think Ibu would get most of his support from the Nawetan teams, from the youths.
From the youth.
It's not the case, because there is quite a lot of things that have been said. Do you know what I mean? The same with the mayoral, with the mayor. People do not see her as someone that's kind of unifying Banjulians. I mean, even her own management, her own executive as well. I mean, it's very, very divided. You look at the councillors, you've got like 5 out of 9 councillors that are gone their separate ways from the other 4 that are supporting the mayor. Does that make sense? And these are people from Banjul. They're people from the wards. They represent people there. So instead of the mayoress, for example, dealing with the councillors, she's decided to be dealing with other local inhabitants and not dealing with the structures that are in place. Does that make sense? So you've got all of these things that are happening in Banjul. So I mean, you've got so many people that are sitting on the fence as at this point. And as soon as I decided that I was going to run, so many of them are coming from all quarters saying that, you know what, we will back you up. It's not only because of the fact that Banjul is politically divided. I have worked for Leicester City Council for the past 20 years, managing the housing department. I manage the housing department in Leicester City Council. So when it comes to running a council and management, I've got quite a lot of experience in that. So this is one of the reasons. This is not the first time I'm vying. The last 4 years or so, I came down here and I was disqualified on the basis that no, it wasn't my residency. I was okay with that. It was just the biometric voters card. They claimed, they said, yes, I didn't have the biometric voters card. I've got that now. So I don't think that would be. Yes, I made sure I got that. Yeah. That's one of the first thing that I decided to do when the registration.
You believe people in Banjul are going for the third force?
They are.
That is the people who really may not appreciate
the
mayor,
what's happening now.
But then they don't also want Ibu.
Yeah, exactly. This is the case, and that's what's happening in Banjul. So you need somebody else possibly who is very fresh, not involved in all of this political,
not tainted in
exactly.
One way or
yes,
the other.
I am not kind of polluted in the political field like my other colleagues.
Okay.
Both of them. Ibu is like a cousin to me. Rohi is my makla. I appreciate and have got lots of respect for them. But I'm sorry, I think I'm the only one that can possibly bring Banjul together.
Well, the issues in Banjul, you mentioned them. Well, let's talk about what the role of council should be. The council got a first mayor. Everybody celebrated that. And she went and did some achievements, even at international level, becoming, the woman president of the women organization, Rafaela. And also introduced cabbage collection, maximizing revenue, scholarships, intervening into women, etc., all have been listed as her achievements. But when you come, where do you think you will do better?
Okay. I mean, I start off by congratulating Rohi in her achievements that you've listed, if they are her achievements. But
they are.
But I mean, to be frank with you, I mean, we need to look at Banjul thoroughly and look at what Banjulians have benefited from the current leadership in Banjul. We need to be realistic. You're talking about garbage collection. You go to Banjul today, you see our ring canal system, you see the gutters. It's clogged up.
But is that not a central? There have been a lot of problems with the central government projects.
No.
The last time there was a huge flooding, people blamed road rehabilitation project.
Yeah, but who is responsible for the services when it comes to cleaning the gutters, cleaning?
But the council cannot.
That's the council.
The council cannot do what the central government cannot do.
No. That is the responsibility of the council. I'm putting it to you that.
So how are you
the
going
ones
to improve?
Yeah, I mean, we need to look at. In 1948, this ring canal system was built in 1948 after we had a serious flood by the British.
Yes, we were told. Yes.
Exactly. Looking at the ring canal system, for example, looking at the one from Anglesey You said you don't know Banjul very well. So if I...
Well, I know Banjul. I'm saying not the politics.
All right, not the Banjul politics.
Streets.
So if you look at Anglesey, the canal from Anglesey, that goes all the way from there to Abdou Koka's house, which is at the junction of Lassoaf and Hopkinson. There is one that comes from Terminal, for example, by the ferry area, going all the way on Hill Street, going to MC Chams's house. And all of these canals and the one from Combo Street, they deposit the the waterways down to the wetland, which is the Tan. What's happening is because of the garbage, people haven't got places to send their garbage to, and collections have not been done for months. I'm putting that to you. Yes. And what's happening is people are resorting to throw in their rubbish and waste in the gutters. This is what's happening in Banjul.
But Banjul has always been like that.
But we need to look at how best we can possibly improve that.
Cluttered trenches.
No, but when we were young in Banjul, we used to go and raise gal. We would make these little boats, paper boats, and then would be there, and you get them napawas and things like that. The water was flowing okay. Do you understand what I mean? So over the years, things have not possibly been improved. Rehabilitation hasn't been done. This is the reason why we have got the problems that we've got, including the flood that we had. The concrete system that we've got in terms of the road rehabilitation, that's a contributing factor. But the main problem is the fact that the ring canal system hasn't been rehabilitated, and work has not been done there over many years. That's one. I mean, you asked what areas I will focus on. In Banjul, we've got problem with housing. There is no council in this country, in the world, where you would go and they haven't got social housing. We've got so many families that are living in overcrowded situations. Houses are so dilapidated and things like that. I don't understand. We've got lots of family homes in Banjul that people are selling, and these houses have been turned into stores and things like that, forcing Banjulians to...
No, but in the case of the Ports Authority, the Port Expansion Project, we know all the area around, including Muslim High School, they've been given willing buyer, I think in some cases... Muslim
High School gave up theirs willingly.
Yeah, I think some families also gave up theirs willingly, and they've been compensated.
Not really. Our own family home, my great-grandmother's family home, we were compensated, but people Banjulians did not want to live, but we didn't have any choice. We were forced to give it up, and I don't understand why...
And what can the council do about it?
Yeah, but council can possibly lobby government.
Central government?
Work with central government and see how best
they can look at a good relationship anyway, in the later part
These are some of the contributing factors that I'm telling you. So you need to have... But
you can't blame the council for evicting people around the ports area. That was a central government.
Yeah, it's a central government thing. That's what I'm saying. The council needs to be there to possibly fight the corners of Banjulians. Why don't they look at extending the ports, the seaports in seaward, rather than taking the little land that we've got in Banjul? This is the thing, and I think
finding some other place to ship the ports to.
No, not that's one way.
Yeah, they're talking about Sanyang.
Yeah, look at Sanyang, look at Tanje. These are Katong. These are natural ports. I mean, you can have a mini port, for example, in those areas, and that would offload quite a lot of the pressure that the GPA is faced with. Now they've got like a port depot or something. What's it called? A container depot, container terminal also in Banjul. That place could possibly have been turned into a housing estate, accommodating over 200 families.
Some time ago, the BCC through the mayor said they wanted properties, especially properties that have been seized from the previous former president. They want these properties to turn them into towers, and they wrote actually. They said to the central government, which did not reply positively, and the lands have been sold to private people. So actually.
But you've got families that are
credits. The BCC actually wanted to do that.
All right. I mean, I don't understand. For 4 years, they wanted to do that, and nothing's happened.
Because the central government did not.
All right, that's not the only avenue that could be explored, Mr. Cham. There are other avenues that could be. Yeah, but there are other avenues that could be explored. Today, we're using Crab Island, for example. There isn't anything happening at Crab Island. You've got new lands.
It's not a school anymore.
It's no longer a school. You've got Tibet Center, which is the Tibet Center.
It's a new innovation.
It's a new innovation, which is fine, but they're not occupying the whole of Crab Island. Crab Island is possibly what? I don't want to make quotation here and get it wrong, but it's a massive piece of land that's there, just a football field.
Okay.
It's quite massive, and that can possibly hold 3 or 4 towers. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
You've got new lines. There isn't anything. You've got an empty police. Speak to police lines. Speak to the authorities and see how best the council can possibly work with Banjulians or other Gambians to come in, and form like a housing association, like it's happening outside or in other countries, and then people can invest and then turn that into social housing. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes.
Have a housing policy, housing register, where people would be able to make application, and then those properties could be given to Banjulians. So Banjulians would remain in Banjul and contribute economically in Banjul. That's something
Do you want to
else.
say that the mass exodus of Banjulians outside Banjul was due to the dilapidated state of Banjul, or the lack of attention on the governments?
It's
Successive governments and councils.
It's a combination of both of those. I mean, people are living in overcrowded housing in Banjul. Many families have been asked to leave because obviously they've with the expansion that's happening and all of that. And again, rent is also too high in Banjul.
Ironically, where people no longer are, how can we have rents? Really,
it's very high. People that have built new structures in Banjul are even asking for a deposit of like 1 year. Do you know what I mean? And it's not like not every Banjulian is able to afford that. So the council needs to possibly look at having a rent scheme where they will be able to safeguard and protect the local tenants that are there. And again, at the same time, engage with landlords when it comes to them asking or evicting people from their properties. Many people are getting evicted. They've been served notices. And this is the reason why many Banjulians are leaving Banjul. These are some of the areas that the council need to possibly focus on. You were talking about maximization of revenue by the present leadership. That hasn't happened. Many millions. I mean, we still have got a manual system in Banjul. Rent is being collected manually, and cash is being taken from the council and deposited into the banks. Why don't you have like a mobile app kind of thing where digitalize?
Only that not everybody can access that.
No, but I mean, even if you're going to have about 50% or 70% of the people doing that, that's a step towards the right direction, and eventually other people could possibly come on board. Do you understand what I mean? Rather than going around and getting our revenue collectors collecting cash. At the same time, we all know what's happening. We've had some of the allegations that have been made by some of the things that that have been featured on the audit report. So we need to look at how best we can possibly shut those doors, and then look at how best we can possibly maximize income that's coming in that way.
But don't you think the present council, with all due respect, have been constrained largely because of the non-cooperation? Of course, due to the lack of good relationship between them and the central government. Like, central government is not subventing, local councils. How, if you are there at BCC, are you going to go about that? Like, if you are elected opposition, for example, or independent, how are you going to work with the central government?
I mean, I think every leadership in Banjul, every leadership in Banjul needs to possibly work with central government, because you're there representing the local people. So it's not about,
But you see, look at the political antagonism.
Yes. But who's triggering that?
The government will say, you have to be from my party if you want my cooperation. And the opposition will say, well, no, if you cannot cohabitate, then I do my own thing. You are not cooperating. You cannot blame me for this and this.
It shouldn't be about
antagonism between the two.
It's not about the leadership. It's about the people of Banjul that need to be benefiting from what they need to be benefiting from. And I think all the councils needs to come together and engage the local government ministry and see how best they can possibly gain some form of autonomy. And I believe the 25% subvention that should be coming from government needs to come from government, so that it would benefit the local.
It's not coming. Maybe because the government of the day is insisting that these people are not my party members.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's where you would need to possibly negotiate with government and tell them it's not about you as an individual. It's about the people that have been affected here. Does that make sense? And the people have made their choice by electing somebody that has belonged to a different political party. And I think orienting the government for them to understand exactly, what needs to be done, I think that would go a long way in helping. But sitting there and again antagonizing government and not engaging at all, it's not going to help Banjulians. And this is why we are faced with what we are faced with.
Good. We'll come back. We'll go to you, Jawo. Mustapha and said, does it make any sense? Mustapha?
Yeah.
Jawo, yeah. Jawo, I don't know who.
Yeah.
Who added an O or who omitted an O.
No, they added that. Oh, that's my argument. No, we did not omit. You cannot omit. You can only add. Yes, I'm really happy. Like you were saying, when we were young, we were just watching him. I think seeing him, bring those memories back, and I think I really appreciate that. Of course, like you said, I think local government is local politics, and that's why for people like us, we don't have much to say. When it comes to these issues, because these are issues that have to be basically dealt with by the people that really matter, and these are the local electorates, and that's why I think, I could relate to some of the things that he is saying. Banjul. As a Gambian, I think Banjul has been very central to our politics, but also in terms of our development, I also feel that Banjul has been a little bit behind. Of course, who is responsible? It could be the people of Banjul, but also the government, prioritizing that Banjul is a capital city and putting real investment in the city. But of course, I think some of his ideas are ideas. I think I really like the issue of social housing. I think that can really help. Even the issue of rent, those are things that everywhere, whether in Banjul, in KM, in West Coast, people complain about rent, and just for us, the other time, landlord increased. They just increased just like that. And so for a politician to come up, bring up these issues, I think is critical. And it also shows perhaps the direction that elections in Banjul is going to take. It might be issue-based politics, despite the personal connections, as he said, the divisions and all those different stuff. I see Rohi, he's going to come up with ideas. He's talking about ideas also, which he has already started. And I'm not sure about the other candidate because I haven't seen.
SO5 was here.
So I'm sensing that Banjul's election this year is going to be very interesting. But I have nothing to say because it's for the people of Banjul to decide, basically.
Mustapha, very quickly, how does it sound to you?
Political opinion, I'll leave that.
You leave that. Okay, we will come to this. So let's go back to you and then we'll come because we have current affairs.
Yes, okay.
You mentioned some of them, the auditors. And in fact, in one of your dramas, you were dramatizing. Are you surprised that things you are dramatizing have
20 years ago is happening now?
Are still happening now? So let me ask you, before I go into how you're going to get it, you know about all the upheavals we have been having over the last couple of things. The president said he's going to institute, or already instituted, a commission of inquiry to look into the councils. His opponents, the opposition, and some independent commentators said if actually that was meant to, sanitize and give a good reputation to the financial management, he has to start with the central government. Where there are very, very big adverse auditors' queries. But then he's focusing on the council. His political opponent said that is witch hunting. He wanted to discredit the politicians at a time when election is coming. How do you see that yourself?
Okay, I believe we have to start from somewhere, Mr. Cham, and it doesn't matter whether it's a top-bottom approach or bottom-top approach, whatever way they want to take it. But what's happened is there is quite a lot of corruption malpractices financial malpractices that have been happening, particularly when it comes to local councils. There have been quite a lot of allegations that have been levied against some of our local councils. So I think having a commission, it's important, but I'm not sure of the timing, to be fair with you. I'm not sure the timing is right, but I believe that, the councils have done quite a lot, and we've all had the reports we've seen the reports on that have been produced recently, the auditor's report. So I believe, starting somewhere, particularly with the local councils, I don't think it's wrong. But for me, it's the timing factor, particularly when we're getting into elections. It would disadvantage some of.
The opposition said they are suspicious that they may have political motives in doing that. One of them have even challenged it in the court, saying that it's going to violate
the rights
as
of
a politician, campaign and going to the commission.
But what did the court say? I thought it has been thrown out.
No, it's not thrown out.
Okay.
Because what the mayor of Banjul wanted is for the injunction to be had before the substantial
matters. Okay.
But the judge said, no, I would rather listen to the substantive matter first before, discussing the request for an injunction. In other words, what the mayor wanted was for the whole commission and all the commissioners she had problems with to be restrained from doing anything until the substantive matter, which is her claim that is going to be unfair, is hard. So that's what happened. It's not been thrown out, but it's been delayed. The injunction has been delayed. So what is going to happen is that from the 12th March, I think, on the 12th March, 12th April or 12th March, 22nd March, something. What we're going to have is that the judge is going to look at the substantive matters. That is whether what the mayor said has merits or not merits. So like you said, it looks like it's similar to what the mayors and the opposition raised, that the timing is calculated. For me, it's the timing, but whether the commission... But then according to you, there is legitimate reasons to set up the commission. Yes, definitely. Beyond any doubt, there is legitimate reasons to set up the commissions. I mean, there is quite a lot of things that have been happening, and I believe we need to get this under a microscope and have a look at things that have been happening. The opposition said the whole policies, the whole act is selective because there are far more adversely reported audit queries with the central government, and the government has not done much. In fact, President Barrow did not help the situation last week when he said, audit reports can be query, rather can be opinions, and sometimes they can be biased. He didn't help the situation, isn't it? He's in trouble with the chartered accountants, the former Auditor General, and stuff like that. I mean, I'll leave that to the professionals in that area to possibly deal with or challenge. Personally, I think any leader should be mindful of what they say, particularly something that's coming out in public. I mean, the president has been in this role for, 6 years this year? Yeah. And I think, he needs to possibly go out on him and shopping and get the right people to store on him. That's all I can say around that. Yes, let's go to Mustapha. Mustapha now is getting on to the real matters that you have dedicated so much time investigating. Since the beginning, it was you and Malagen who are leading the investigations to allegations of graft, and I think one of your actually reports leading to the first ever conviction, actually, of unfortunately, of course, of a very, very senior civil servants. Now, what is your take on the local government commission of inquiries? And then we come up to the CHO report. You have reported about it, and the audit report came and actually substantiates some of the things you have said. And we go on to the timber trade, which you have also dedicated time to. And all those things are now being, bandied around. Some of those things you have already actually reported on. Let's try the local government elections. What's your opinion about it?
The problem with issue of accountability in the Gambia is that it's not being approached with little bit of honesty. So whether you are in opposition or whether you're working in the government, each person tries to use whatever means available to them to gain political favor or to gain election. And when that happens, when accountability is thrust into... Look at local government election, local government commission, for example, very necessary. But before we get to even the commission, local government, if you had read the audit report on local government elections for a long time, in fact, some of them were struggling. They don't even have a proper accountant, right? A lot of these organizations, they can't even do proper books, right? Now they're facing chronic capacity issues. Revenue is messed up. A lot of cases, a lot of revenue collections, even at the markets, are not digitized. So there is a huge loophole for graft. And of course, allegations. Myself personally, a team of mine, some members of my team have started working on a story related to some councils, and I've seen the preliminary work they've done. What is happening in the councils, it leaves a lot of gap in terms of where we are and where we need to be, in terms of corruption, in terms of lack of transparency, in terms of mismanagement of funds, in terms of lack of capacity, proper leadership. That's there. That's there. And it's been there for a long time.
Yeah.
But the question of the commission also is, how do we honestly approach this issue, punish a past crime, and make sure stop a recurrence of a current crime? We've seen what happened after we Jame came, after we removed Jame and we brought in new masters. And it took a few months for us to realize that in fact people who were, a large number of people who were against Jame were not in fact against the principles and values he cherished. They were disgruntled because they were not the people doing it. You see what I mean?
I see.
So, because that shows in the actions of the people later on as they took on the mantle of leadership in the country, whether it's at the local government level or at the central government level. So accountability needs to be approached with sincerity. You punish a crime, it should be indiscriminate.
Yeah, and proportionate too.
Yeah, in my best judgment, I think that local government commission is long overdue. There should be an investigation, not necessarily an investigation, but the president is not honest and sincere about it. He's purely political about it, and that is going to kill the purpose. Because when a commission is partitioned in its nature, it gives opportunity to opponents to sort of poke holes in it, refuse findings, discredit. It becomes, I mean, even justice needs to wear that sense of that phase of impartiality, so that everybody feels comfortable. Even the person who is going to be brought to justice is comfortable that I will be treated fairly. Right? That's why they say justice must not just be done; it must be seen to be done. Exactly. So that's the problem with it. It's too political. It's politicized. But regarding whether there is a need, absolutely. I mean, if you look at the Auditor General's report, that's part of the reasons the president used as a justification to start the commission.
Yeah.
So if you look at all the reports that were
particularly
done,
he mentioned
the books are in a very some of the books are in a very, but if you look at the level of honesty, you look at that same Auditor General report also.
Yeah.
I mean, I was talking to a colleague and we started to work on a story related. There is a particular racket where a potential of over $40 million may have been missing in that report.
And that's central government? Or?
Yes, central government. And it's discussed within 2 or 3 days interval of the audits of the councils. That money, council's revenue combined in the whole of the Gambia is not even half.
It's not even half of it. And that's 40 million you are 40 million you are talking about.
And this sincerity is affecting all. I have seen it. It's affecting all. If Gambians had been sincere from 2017, this country would have been on a path. It would have been on a proper path. When people were talking about accountability, okay, let's say for example Barrow UDP fight, right? So the people who were supporting, so Barrow messed up from the beginning with a lot of fraudulent behavior, like taking money from businessmen and giving it to people, or taking vehicles from businessmen he will not name and give it to people. This is, you can't do this in any serious country. People defended it, right? They fell out and now they oppose it, right? And people will not take you seriously. You see, so, and the Barrow is doing the same thing. You are criticizing the councils, your opponents, for something that is worse. The State House is the most indicted institution in this country in relation to corruption. If you look at most of the earliest audit reports. So the sincerity or lack of it is the problem. And it's the same thing in the opposition as well. So that's the problem we face, and that's the unfortunate situation we find ourselves in.
And how do you react to the current brouhaha between the president and the people, the community of auditors? The Auditor General, we saw responded, trying to explain how auditing is done, how they stick to ethics. Today we saw the Gambia Association of Chartered Accountants coming also to disagree with the president. And the fact that people think that he trivialized the work of auditing, that undermines his government's government's integrity in the area of fighting corruption. But his people have said he actually did not trivialize the auditor's report. He was merely expressing his opinion and didn't actually say that the auditing system, I mean, in other words, they're trying to say that his word should not be misconstrued. How do you react to that?
You know, the issue is, if Malagen publishes a report and somebody comes and says, Malagen can make mistakes.
Yes, that's it.
What is the person trying to do?
But he's trying to say that Malagen's report
does
not
discredit the
report.
It's telling you, don't listen to Malagen.
Exactly.
They can make mistakes.
Yeah.
Because the fact that Malagen people can make mistakes is a given.
Yeah.
That's a given. A human being can make mistakes.
Yes.
So that is unnecessary to say it. It's a waste of time to even say it.
Yeah.
Because that's a given. A human being can make mistakes. But the fact that you're saying it, you are saying so. So the president is in fact saying so. He's not suggesting that they can make mistakes. He is saying they are making mistakes.
He even said they could be biased. I think that's where the problem is.
He's also saying they are biased. Because the problem is, if you look at it, because the thing about, if I said, if Sait comes and says something and I said, Sait can be biased, he can make mistakes. I'm not saying can, I'm saying Sait makes mistakes, he's biased. That's what I'm saying, because all the attributes I am saying...
It's the language.
Yes, it's the language. So the attributes, the fact that Sait can be biased is unnecessary to say, because Sait is human being and human beings are subjected to bias. Right?
Yeah.
So you are not saying it because that's stupid. I mean, of course he can be biased. Of course he is human. But the audit process audit is not even an opinion as such. Yeah. It's called audit opinion, and audit opinion is not the same as opinion in English language.
Yeah, right.
Opinion is just something that comes from your belief.
As he said, the president needs definitely people who can really guide and advise.
No. The president knew what he was talking about.
I know he knew, but even in places like the United Kingdom, for example, Tony Blair, Prime Minister,
all of the prime
was always an articulate, very eloquent speaker.
He had advices around him.
He took advices in many things. He said, like this recording,
it
this
all
interview
comes
was
down
recorded.
to the sincerity I'm talking about.
Yeah, I understand.
For the president, he knew what he was saying. He intentionally did so.
He probably did not know the
implications.
No,
Sham.
And he needed advice.
No, you only need to see. The president knew. You see, there is no president in the world who is a fool. It does not exist. The president in any country is the most informed human being. Nobody in this country is more informed than the president of the Gambia, regardless of what you think of him. Because everything that is happening in this country, Barrow knows. Everything.
Should know.
No, he knows. Every institution, everybody reports to him. He knows. Even the opposition report to him.
They have daily briefings.
He knows. Now, the problem is, Barrow has been, the State House has been at the center of corruption scandals that have been uncovered by audit reports. And it serves the credibility of State House to discredit the audit reports. Two of them cannot be credible at the same time. If the auditors are credible, State House will lose credibility. For State House to have credibility, the auditors need to lose credibility.
I see. And
it's
so which one do we take now?
It's simple. Now the thing is, if you look at, the auditors did a Banjul report project.
Yeah,
what did the government do? Banjul report.
But yeah,
they went and assembled
the entire government.
An entire government at Kairaba
to
defend a private contractor who did not even bother to be there. The private contractor did not even bother to come there.
But state ministers represented him.
And they defend passionately what was happening. Now, if you look at, and there are Banjulians who have talked about this at the early, I don't want to talk about the Banjul project, but there were people who, for some reasons, but there are people who were at the beginning talking about this, that there are some issues here and there that you need to fix. Auditors came, they did their audit report, and the auditors were supposed to now do the forensic one. Yeah? So the president knew what he was talking about. Secure report. Report. If you looked, everything started from the office of the president. The auditor talked about it. Colossal amount of losses of resources. These people just pick 4.5 million United States dollars and give it to some guy. And these are the things auditors are talking about. You see. So they can't, it's not that he does not know what he's talking about. He's telling the people, don't trust the National Audit Office. They have bias, they have an opinion. And now, in fact, I have seen some of their clowns talking about Auditor General being UDP. Yes, because it serves their interest. Yeah. It's like, for example, when you come and say, if you speak against a particular political party, you have people call you a tribalist. A tribalist.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, okay, fine. Before you call me a tribalist, how about we look at the thing
what
I
I've been saying, yes.
The content I say. If it is right or wrong.
Yeah.
So Gambians are so disingenuous that they've become accustomed to using anything they can.
So distorts the facts.
To discredit the message.
Yeah, the message.
Because the message and the messenger are one and the same. If I am discredited,
nobody will believe me.
If any of my colleagues are discredited, nobody. So this is the thing. This is the problem with what the president said, and he knew what he was talking about. If you look at even the some of the names, I can't go into those names, but there are people he was referencing in that interview, whose names, who were part of the people who were probably most indicted people in the recent audit reports, including whether the one in the timber or the one with airport renovations, or the Banjul project. Those are the architects behind those problems. And they are the people who are with him on this matter.
Good.
You see, so it's not an accident. It's planned.
Sets the president and the accountants, or whatever it was, are up in arms. I mean, he said he's. It must be said. He said he didn't mean to tribalize them. He didn't mean to disrespect them. I mean, his statements perhaps were misconstrued, and it doesn't do anything actually to convince them, because they came up with a press release now. In fact, they are far more united against the president in that press release.
I mean, intentionally or intentionally, the damage has been done. And for me, this is my opinion, because the auditors are not just private people that just want to come and do work. They're established by the Constitution. It's just like saying that the office of the president, I mean, it's the same thing, saying that the office of the president cannot be trusted. Like if you say a state institution cannot be trusted, I mean, it's similar saying that the office of the president cannot be trusted. I think for me, and this is where I agree with Jawo, and, is the fact that there's been problem of communication. And for me, yesterday I was saying somewhere that I cannot understand that for 6 years, the president cannot communicate accurately as a president to the rest of us. For me, I don't see him as NPP or anything. I see him as the president, because he's occupying the office of politicians. Of course, you can say my background as civil society, but a politician should be people to bring this society together. But instead, they are like fragmenting us, balkanizing us into different.
And if there is, you see, one philosopher often said, when there is an election, the person who loses, in fact, has the easier job.
Yes.
The person who wins, has the greatest tax, because he must now represent even the person who lost against him.
Exactly.
So I think the president should rise above just listening to the sentiments of his politicians. And when he comes to do the presidency, he must be presidential, and he must say things that he cannot necessarily say, or he cannot necessarily bring to the presidency in innuendos within his own party. I mean, the party can say, look, this Auditor General can be UDP, maybe he's DOI, but then when he comes as president, he cannot bring those sentiments there, because people will see that you are trivializing national institutions.
Lyman, the funny thing is, the president's primary job is to uphold the Constitution. And the Constitution, upholding the Constitution, is upholding also the institution, the people, the properties, everything that is within. I mean, that is his primary job. And today, if you come and say within your family, you can say you say that this one is, you know, he could be this, he could be that. How would people see the rest of your government?
Absolutely.
And I think for me, this is why I am very frustrated about this entire stuff, because I feel the work of the Auditor General or the Audit Office, and we like civil society. You know, he's talking about the media, but as civil society, we have seen the important role that they have been doing. Still, we don't understand the audit process, because for 22 years nobody has been teaching us or anything.
Exactly.
But now we participate. Recently, I participated in where they were planning to do performance audit or even auditing the extractive industry, where there is also huge amount of unaccounted or even things that are happening there. So they as an institution, they are doing a lot of work, and we are seeing that. And if they were doing otherwise, we will say it. And that is us. You know, for us, what we are not here to please anybody, and that's the point that we will also want to say. But then for me, the other point is like the issue of corruption, and Mustapha mentioned that. You know, for us, we can only speak about what the people are saying in terms of the perception, because that's where our strength is. But today, if you look at the Afrobarometer, for instance, the recent survey we have released, that Office of the President is listed as one of the highest. And from 2018 it was 19%, in 2021 42%, and in 2022 when we did the study was 51%. It shows of who is corrupt in terms of the office institutions. So you see that the Office of the President is basically on top in terms of 2021. And he just explained some of the factors, because of the various audit reports point to the Office of the President. Major corruption scandals, Office of the President. So for me, the people are saying that we are seeing, we are hearing, we understand what is being communicated, and we look at that. So when we measure and when we track them, then exactly that's what you see. You know, you have the police, then members of parliament, judges and magistrates, civil servants, then followed local government councillors. But generally we saw
even the press. What's his perception against the corruption?
We did not ask about the press.
You should have asked.
If we put them under non-governmental organization, why would
you will publish it?
But if you put them under non-governmental organization,
and the government blame the press for singing the song too loud about corruption.
No, but it has to be. You see, everybody, like he said, I mean, for me, I am engaging in civil society, not just because I want to be there clapping and following, but I want to influence the process. I want to live in a better society. I want to be 70 and then live in a society where nobody will come and attack me. You know, that's my plan. But today, if we are dealing with corruption, people that are supposed to retire, and today they are spending all the money, when they retire, what are they going to talk about pension?
I think even the Auditor General's office had said that they have always audited and released reports and put them on their website. It's just that the attention that the reports are getting now, they probably did not have it.
No, but also part of the issue is, you see, the president was saying, audit is an opinion. When we get it, we will verify. So we will investigate, right? Now, Gambia Police Force it's a statutory recipient of audit reports. So, for example, if audit is done,
they have to
have
a copy.
The police have to receive a copy.
And they are meant to work independently.
The Office of the President receives a copy, right? They are not doing any work in this. When the Office of the President is involved in anything, the police, their hands are tied. They don't do anything about it. In fact, I can tell you one of the major frustrations at the National Audit Office, whether before or now, is that the police don't act on their reports. And also that the police don't have the capacity to investigate.
Oh, I see.
So when the president says, we will investigate, who will investigate? Because even the police is probably the most biased. People talk about security sector reform. The government army is one of the best, most organized public institutions in this country. I mean, you walk with them, you will see.
Yeah.
It's probably the most organized Gambian public
communication.
I've been arguing that, but people don't see.
Everything. I mean, but deal with police. I mean, even in your perception, look at police. I work on you. So, that police is the one to handle our fate as a nation. He can do better. So that's
when they say security report, people focus on the military. But you are saying that
these people, if they are ready to handle corruption issues, we should do it systematically. Police.
Give it to why?
I will, because fraud squad is one, they don't have the capacity to handle a lot of financial related, corruption related matter. In fact, the GP, I found police investigations. It's interesting you mentioned Gam Petroleum scandal.
Yes.
I have started some investigations with my team where I found police, they rely on a board report. So they go and sit the board down and say, look, give us all the evidence. So the board gives them an evidence, they compile it. They go to the players, people against whom allegations are made. They take reports from them and they compile it. They confuse the whole process.
So they wouldn't know.
Now this is something I have done and I have not written my report about it, so I can't comment on it. But I can say one thing about the Gam Petroleum case. The duty waiver Gambia Revenue Authority had issued in November cost the state over $1 million, right?
Wow.
In November. If you are to prove an economic crime case, all you need is to prove that Sait Matty's action or inaction caused economic loss to state. If state puts Sait Matty at this door to collect $10 and he goes to sleep, I'm not saying he stole it. I'm saying he went to sleep. We pass that $10 is not corrected. He has committed economic crime.
Because of his omissions.
That's how simple it is.
His omissions.
GRA lost because of the duty waiver, because there was no fuel in the Gambia. A duty waiver was issued.
So that
fuel comes from Senegal
directly.
So for the president, I mean, what? I don't even know what to say.
I mean,
it's the most simple. Charge people what you have. Do a proper investigation. I'm telling you.
So when the president or the government said they have given how to call it? How do they call it? They've waived tax on petroleum. Up to $1 billion something dollars. You were saying that that didn't go.
The GP case was not properly investigated. It was not even investigated. That's what I'm trying to say.
So that's why I could not.
Now he was saying we thought there was a good case. We took it to court. It's a lie. It's not investigated. It was never investigated
properly.
They just went and collect a lot of garbages from somewhere
and said that was a report.
And they design it in such a way that they are going to exempt certain people from investigation. Is a story.
And that's why
crime is a story.
And that's why the court has to throw it out.
Somebody comes to me with something, gives me something, I walk to someone, give him something. If you write that crime and edit me out of it, that crime is going to collapse. Because it's a story.
And there's a chain.
To tell the story, you need to tell the chain. They messed up the case because they wanted to protect some people. I'm telling you, GRA alone, duty waiver, lost over $1 million. And all that the police needs to do, the police headquarters is just 2 minutes walk from GRA. That's how simple it is.
But the other problem,
and it's because of the GP case that we brought fuel from Senegal. It's because there was no fuel in the tank. Right?
Yeah.
Wasn't that the reason?
Absolutely.
That's enough for economic crime while you buy the people time to properly investigate the matter. If you know what happened in that GP case,
you must be very dizzy now from all the revelations you have had concerning accountability.
Yes, I mean,
you may be aspiring to start with local government, but you're aspiring, of course, to go to the higher. How would you tackle these issues?
I think, as my colleagues have stated, we need to look at having a transparent system. I think this is where we fail. And I think all institutions in the Gambia need to look at how best they can possibly do this. We also need anti-corruption bill that is highly needed in the Gambia in order to be able to tackle some of these challenges that we are faced with. Anything less than that, we will possibly just be going round and will be exactly in the same point. I think it's Buba. He spoke about, for example, the Banjul project, for example, the Banjul Road Rehabilitation Project. People like me were on social media saying, you haven't even got an impact assessment framework for us to see exactly how this is going to affect the local inhabitants. We haven't even seen a plan as to what the final structures would look like. Does that make sense? These are basic things that needs to happen when you give a contract.
Said even the president doesn't have the plan. How to call it, the contract.
The contract. This is what I'm saying. So these are some of the issues that we are faced with. So unless and until we rectify the system now, we will, in the next 20 years to come, another panel or this panel would sit here talking about the same thing.
The Kenyan writer calls it our turn to eat.
Our turn to eat, exactly. So it's
just
like
one turn to eat after another.
After the other.
Exactly. That is not sustainable.
Mustapha is saying that the opposition is no better than the government when it comes to issues of accountability. So where are we going?
But Cham, also I think, here we have also a structural problem, and structural problem also has to do with our laws, the relationship between local government, central government, but also the institutions. Because the other time, I was mentioning this extractive industry. Every sector that you look at, you see that the frameworks are old frameworks, obsolete. And sometimes for me, especially, we're talking about the police, we're talking about security. And at some point, when you change the law positively in a way, that kind of, change, it gives hope and also, brings swift changes. Right. Of course, there is need to domesticate for people to understand that. But here, in this way, in this country, we look at president, we look at politicians as buria, they can do whatever they want to do. I mean, and at the end of the day, we suffer, we complain, and then we move on. But indeed, at the end of the day, it is our lives that are at stake. Today you talk about, before we were talking about human rights violation, but today we're talking about corruption. And corruption is killing. It kills. It denies the future their opportunity to do whatever they want to do. I mean, like today, if you're supposed to invest, we are talking today. They are launching achievement on the healthcare. But you go to Birkama healthcare, some of them they don't even have electricity, constant electricity. The people in the rural communities they are suffering. Some of them don't have water. And we are talking about millions being wasted, millions being taken away or being lost for what? For some people to benefit. I mean, like it's clearly that in this country there is a state capture, and we are just citizens that don't understand what is happening.
AKI just happened.
And now everybody is blaming. Like sometimes we're not. I feel like we are not serious, and some of us are ignorant, and some of us are also very lazy in terms of how we engage.
Also come to see how the average person aids and abets that same violation of his right. Like now, if you go to talk about corruption and you go to indict politicians, the very people who will insult you are the very people whose right you're fighting. Yes. The people whose money is being stolen from them. They are the people they come, and that is, in fact, that is also part of the reasons why we have hyper-ethnic tension in politics when the elections are approaching. Because one of the things you use to clock people's mind and prevent them from thinking is emotions. So you tell them, I am one of you, I am in your team, vote for me. And then they don't think anymore. They don't have to think, they don't have to be busy over what you can do or can't do. Because already I have to vote for you because I'm one of you. So regardless of what you did, and it's even affecting accountability in the Gambia. You would be surprised. I have gone to some people and you hear them talk about ethnic sentiment. Either it's because and it's not unique to any group. I see it in a lot of faces, right?
Yes.
You hear people talk about ethnic, that X, Y, and Z should defend each other. And so this happens. Like I went to some guy who is involved in a particular project at the airport. We just did the security report, and he was referencing a tribe, and I told him, you dare talk about a tribe? You just put up a box charging everybody.
At the airport, even the non-Gambians.
Even the non-Gambians. Are you talking about defending a tribe? Like, what are you saying? Like, you know what I mean? But that's what, and that these are some of the confusions.
Our morals have sunk.
But the higher those confusions are, the lack of clarity the masses have. And the lack of clarity, the more vulnerable they become to these clowns.
But you know, for me, that's why I also say that this is where the work of journalists and civil society is very important.
To come in.
You know, at some point they can box us wherever they want to box us, but at the end of the day, when you are serving your country, you're not serving anybody. You're doing it because it's also about, you know, worshiping. Serving your country is about worship also. And today we're in Ramadan.
By the way, what happened to your one-man fight against security?
No, I gave up. I took my passport.
You know what? I was going to join you to do that, you know, honestly.
No, I gave up. I gave them $1,000. You know, but
got your passport back.
But at least I felt. I mean, you know, I gave up. But you know, like, you know, when you are fighting for something, and at the end of the day, instead of people listening and supporting the public, they start increasing. I mean, like you say that this, you know, dump them blind. I don't know what they'll say.
That's one of the consequences the president's statement will have. If you work in the field of accountability in the Gambia, our story, when we were going to publish the timber story, somebody wanted us not to publish it, and he had told a colleague of mine he was willing to pay us $1 million.
Really?
Right?
My goodness.
Yeah. But it's worth it, because after our story, the CITES ban came in there, timber is stuck, it cannot move. You would rather have millions of dollars than $20,000. Now, I'm telling you, you refuse one bribe, another one comes. You refuse that, another one comes. You refuse that. And now, people who are working in the field of accountability in the Gambia, their life, social lives, this is a very corrupt society.
Absolutely.
Now, you start to work in this area, you see it. Like, and they are not, it's so indignified now that it's in the open.
That
is easy to see. So when I speak to auditors all the time, because I'm always on their website looking for what work they did and go through their reports here and there. And there is not a story we start to work on that we don't ask around, was there any audit in this area? Because audit provides you the primary basis to see whether in fact there is a story on, a potential for a story or not. Right?
Yeah.
So, and you speak to auditors, a lot of them would tell you, why? You know, this, if I see a better opportunity, I'll leave.
Exactly.
Because you see, it's not just, we have people who will say, this guy is not corrupt. And all of a sudden, someone comes to you and say, he's taking money. Because they've hold the fortress and they could hold it for only so long. That's right. If 10 bribes passed you, probably the
11th one,
and it goes to your boss.
Yes.
And you see no reason why I shouldn't take it.
Take it. So it's
after all, the thing I'm trying to stop is happening anyway. And so when the president comes to denigrate the integrity of the audit and the auditors like this, it's as if their work is insignificant, irrelevant.
And when it comes to, you know, projecting that government is doing something about it, the government, I think even the president mentioned the Banja case as an example of, the Attorney General came out with a statement saying that the Banja case is a clear example, so to speak, as a very, and when many people said Banja case was in fact an unfortunate one, and everybody will now take that to be the example when actually, what was your reaction?
like for me, like I said, I want the people to have a say, and some of these things we go back to the people, ask them their feedback. And if 77% of the population say that corruption has increased since 2018, that shows that, like he said, corruption is cultural, is part of our social and everywhere. But then the other issue is, in terms of, we also ask people what government is doing. 85% of the population believe that the government is doing fairly badly or very badly in terms of fighting corruption. And this 85%, you're talking about almost 9 out of every 10 Gambian. So there is nothing, like, that's one case, but there is nothing else that has been done around it. So, we talk about the anti-corruption bill. Of course, it's still at Parliament, and so we hope that it will come. But we want to see something better and more interest. And for me, it's only after the 2021 election when I started hearing President Barrow talking about corruption, even engaging in corruption. I've been saying, why hasn't corruption been one of the main issues, about this government? Because if we're talking about breaking away from the past, and we blame Jammeh being the only one that is corrupt, but now we're talking about the society-wide horizontal corruption all over the place. I feel there needs to be an efficient system that needs to be in place to ensure that that is not there. But the other point is that we also need to remember that what we are taking today is for somebody. Today we're talking about increase in crime rate, increase in safety. Why is that? Because people that are supposed to get services, that are supposed to benefit from the national cake, are not getting it. So therefore they have to go and get it somewhere. And where are they going to get it? To poor people that are trying to earn their means. But then again, if you look at the number of corruption, it's horizontal, but you can see that it might be if everybody in this country was as corrupt, this country would have been corrupt.
Yeah, I mean,
but for me, I feel it is structured and it is kind of connected in terms of the kabudu and all those different stuff. But they know better because they see the real issues. What we see is more about public perception.
Is the lack of incentive and good pay?
But no. You see, Cham, and that is what I tell people. A lot of people I have found to be corrupt, they earn higher than me.
Ironically, we think that those who have
Why
more
do you think they couldn't stop their stories being published? They earn higher than me. In some cases, 2 times higher than me. In some cases, 3 times higher than me. Right? Or more. Or far more than that.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? This thing is not about people getting money because they are poor. It's not the case. I hear people...
use that.
You see, the higher, in fact, the corrupt people in this society are the ones with access.
Yeah,
exactly.
They are the ones who don't need to.
I
right?
see. Yeah.
The person, the messenger, how can the messenger does nothing, or the clerk, or they don't have access.
Yes.
You see, so this society they are not corrupt because they need to. They are corrupt because they want.
They are greedy.
Yes, it's greed. It's not in relation to anything else. I mean, people say that low wages. Look at it. Even when they want to improve wages, what did they do?
They didn't do that.
They put it per percentage.
Percentage.
And
the high earners earn more than the lowest.
And the Dr. Banja case, even though it's a good case, I mean, the state did a good job. The lawyer who handled it did a good job, and of course it's good. It's on a CV now, but that was what would you have done? I mean, the Dr. Banja case was so clear cut, and what happened after our story was published, the videos, the sharing, the traction it got. I don't know what could they have done with it.
What you mean? What the verdict couldn't have been otherwise?
It couldn't have been otherwise. They were going to ignore it. I mean, it's more like what happened after the GP case, even though they went and settled a sham case.
The Gambia Petroleum case.
Yes, but they did something anyway.
Yeah.
Just to show that they
at
did
least
something.
they try to prosecute.
Exactly. So the Banja case, they just didn't have a choice. And
but many people felt that his case. I mean, there have been remnant of questions in his case. Other people who have been dragged into and prosecuted for the same reasons. Wasn't there any evidence of such?
Other people who could have.
For example, it was allegedly heard that the money he was taking was meant for him and somebody else.
Yes.
I mean, people felt that more and more people should have been involved in the prosecution.
And well, that was our position, but you can only go with what you have.
What you have.
Yeah, I mean, that my position personally is that the police could have done a thorough investigation, more broad-based investigation, and not just confine themselves to the Malagen report. Because what the police did was they built a file on our report.
And stop there.
Yeah, and stop there.
And they
didn't
like you said,
further. Yeah, they didn't go further to other individuals and look into their accounts and all of that.
Like you said earlier, they might have edited some suspects.
Exactly. So that is, in fact, if you come to corruption investigations in the Gambia, you'd find out that's part of the reasons why cases, in most cases, collapse.
Yeah.
Any investigation, they edit. Yeah. And when you edit, the story does not sink. Yeah, it collapses. When you put that evidence before the court of law, it does not speak. And when evidence is a language, it's like, for example, if you go to a crime scene right now, everything you are seeing is evidence telling you what happened. Do you understand?
Yeah, I know.
Like you see blood spatters on the wall, you see a stab wound, you know what kind of probably knife were used, how the person was stabbed, at what direction was he. Everything, evidence is a language. When you edit the language, it doesn't make sense anymore.
Good.
Right? So police, they edit the language. That's what they do.
They can go further.
Yes, and passport story, we were,
Yes.
my colleague
That
and
the
I,
diplomatic
the
passport.
investors.
Yes.
We did a story.
Oh, yeah, the passport. I remember.
That's
the investors for passport.
Yes.
Passport for investors.
Yes, the investors in immunity.
Yeah.
So,
then
when we started that story, the first thing I did was, I was going through our diplomatic passports, the list of people who acquire our diplomatic passports.
Yeah.
And so my colleague told me, look, this case is already in court. We can't publish this. And already, a lot of people already know this list. So then we started looking for what is odd. Then we see some Tubab names. Yeah? We started, there was this Tubab guy called Reni Shash. He works here, he calls himself an investor and a bringer of investors. And this guy actually meets the president. He goes to State House. He take a picture with the president. And so I have some colleagues outside who are, OCCRP has this very nice investigative dashboard where you can any investigative journalist can utilize. They can scrub the whole online for you and tell you who is who. Right? So I sent this guy's name, and the first report they sent me, and I look, this guy is flagged everywhere.
Wow. Internationally.
Yes. And that is one of the things also. You see, people have direct access to the president in this country. You don't even know what NIA does anyway.
So easily.
Because everybody who meets a president in any normal country, that person is vetted.
Yes.
For me, for example, Mustapha Kedam, you can just pick a phone call and call 10 million people and 1,000. That's exaggerated, but 20,000 people to tell you who I am.
Yeah.
But for someone who is coming from Germany, you needed to do proper vetting to know who is meeting the president.
So
this guy,
people feel
from what we had,
the president is too cheap when it comes to the kind of people we meet, who takes photos with him.
It's the fault of security institutions whose job it is to protect the integrity of that office.
Exactly.
So
that's what I'm telling you. Just as you said, there should be the job of some people, personnel around him,
the vetting,
who should make him very rare. A personality.
So
they should also.
We don't have a structure. We are not thinking governance-wise.
Absolutely. This
we
like
think,
we
think like everything is cheap. We don't care.
Like the office of the presidents around the presidents. I told you, from security to even communication. You cannot blame the president.
Let me just finish this, how everything happened. So
the man's name came.
Yes, the man's name came up. So we took interest in him. So we started following him. We connected him to...
And he's been issued a diplomatic passport.
Yes, he was issued a diplomatic passport. And he was even involved in illegal printing of Gambia's diplomatic passport. And that's one thing nobody... Yes, and that's one thing nobody was talking about. Because there are over 1,600 diplomatic passport books that went missing. No, over 2,000 diplomatic passport books that went missing at Foreign Affairs Ministry. Being illegally printed. Who knows who has those passports?
I don't know.
Now, if you go to our story, you can see all these things. Now, this guy took us to some bunch of so-called investors who were also issued our diplomatic passport. They were coming from Germany. And these guys were all flagged everywhere as criminals, like in Germany, in Austria. And they also link us to another company. So names of companies. And when I went to company records to do due diligence on this guy, I found out he has opened, I think, 8 companies. None of which are doing anything.
In the Gambia.
They sell companies, briefcase companies. So he kept opening companies with weird names and none of them are doing anything. And he's connected. And interestingly, as at the time we were looking into him, he got a land. They were making arrangements for him to get hectares of land in Kerr.
Wow.
Kerr? No, in Darboe.
Yes. And he said he was going to do an investment in solar, I don't know, whatever. Like, I don't know why people go to school. They're making some of us discouraged to go to university.
No, it must be in Darboe. It's not Kerr.
No, I even spoke to the chief in that place.
In Kerr? No, in Darboe. I tell you that could only happen in Darboe.
If it was Jara, then I will go there.
And this is happening. After we found out, and I told the police, I told the police guys, this guy, what we found on him. So I kept him close. I was going to him, you know, he was always calling me, hey, Mustapha. He even invited me to a wedding. He went a Gambian. So he even invited me to the wedding, and my friend, and then I didn't go. But then I kept him close and we were exchanging text. And he was sending me outrageous things about him meeting the prince. He thought I'm a Gambia government official.
Yeah, that's right.
He said he met some prince in Dubai, and everything he tells me, we verify it.
Yeah.
You see,
And that's what happened.
he doesn't. So I kept him close, and I was going to him. Sometimes I passed by his office at 9 because I don't go home early, at 9 p.m. and I would find him walking. And the office, it was as if something is being done. There was an office, it's been rented, but nothing actually is happening
there.
And they are supposed to pay $8,000 a month.
That
If
shows you
keep
that
that shows you that this is
something.
off.
Absolutely.
And they were meeting our agricultural department. Can you imagine? Arranging a meeting with a minister, the PS, and all of those guys on that scam. And they even wrote. So the good thing was the minister, the PS, was a very level-headed person.
Yeah.
I reached out to him. I said, look, what do you know about this? He said, well, I don't know much. I told him, look, I am working on this, but the preliminary investigation is showing that these guys are scammers, right? I told him, don't spook them.
Yes.
Keep them close. Let's observe, right?
Yeah.
And he was doing a reasonably good job. He was not working for me, but he is interested in also knowing, of course, because he's not corrupt.
Yeah. So ultimately,
so he wrote to them ultimately to say, look, guys, I think you go through Gaipa.
Right.
Yeah? He told them, go through Gaipa. They are the guys, if you want to invest, you go. These scammers don't go through Gaipa. And that is why people tell them, shut that thing you call Office of whatever of investment at State House. If people come here, let them go through Gaipa. This guy, when the police investigated him, so you know, when he criminals, so he went to the first police investigation. Some of the guys he went to, I wasn't there, but I heard some of the guys he went to with the police. They told him, well, he told them that I also gave the president a laptop and a phone. They said, no, that would not go to the statement. And so what? So they omitted him out of the story. His name is in the investigation file and in the legal opinion, and he never made it in the court.
Where is he now?
Because he mentioned this.
After we published our story, he ran away.
And ultimately
he left. Yes, he left his
good job that you
apartment.
guys have.
He was renting an apartment at Sky Blue Plaza. If you go there, there were security cameras all over the place. And after our story, they got busted. Yeah. So they keep, of course, even our YouTube video on them, they keep reporting it until YouTube take it down. Because their faces were all over the place. These guys were in Bissau.
And ultimately they've gone.
Yes. But that tells you, like Sait was saying, this is not, we are doing a lot of disservice. This country is like a stampede. It's not even structured. Nothing is happening by design. Everything is...
Maybe let's go back.
The guy went to Senegal, he came back in a week. You think he can survive in Senegal?
No,
there is no chance.
You know, sometimes
it's a country.
The other thing I see in this country, some people will also come and take, is it our naivety or our hospitality? But also our willingness to participate in processes. Why would somebody, like, for me, I cannot understand why would investors bypass a state
go to
institution.
State House.
Yes.
Like
and
this is where you're creating that opportunity for those things.
I think some of these
and said you have no idea. You see, me, I made it a habit. Each time they published the investor estimate state the president. I just took their name, I put it in the ICIJ database. Bam. You see them linked to something. Like it's
but that's so simple for government to invest in that.
Nobody is doing any.
I think what we need to also do as civil society is also to support, and media maybe is to support this process, to help those that are investing. Like there are certain things maybe they are not exposed to it, to help them, train them, so that they can have that. Look at fact checking. We train few people, and then they do it on their own. So sometimes, of course, right now, you know, in terms of, I will talk to the security because I'm also biased towards them, because I feel that there have been a lot of capacity issues, but even funding. Like you see, if you want to live in a safe society, if you want to live in a safe and secure society, we need to invest in the human capital, and I think this is where also security. I mean, you have brilliant people, but they don't have the tools. They don't have the tools. They don't have the tools. They don't have even vehicles in the first place. And so a serious government needs to start looking at all these different issues, because if there is corruption, if all these things are coming out, serious investors will not come in. No. And you want to create jobs. You want to that's where the problem is. And you want to create jobs by that, you know, attracting foreign direct investment. Why would serious direct investors come here and be exposed to all this, you know, bad politics?
Maybe let's go back to politics, because that can solve, maybe that can solve it. Finally, Mr. Jawo, yes. I'm going to end with you because that's politics. I want to ask you now, why the PPP? What is your connection with the PPP?
A very good question. I mean, solely if it was all about financial gains or so, I would have gone to NPP. You know what I mean? They're the incumbent and have got the resources and everything. Looking at what PPP has done over the years, particularly the legacy of Sir Dawda Jawara, wanting to continue the legacy with the legacy of Sir Dawda Jawara, this is the reason I've gone to PPP. Looking at the human rights records that Jawara has during his tenure, I mean, you cannot compare that to any of the previous governments or the current government. I mean, let's face it. Yes. So these are some of the factors why I have gone to PPP. The other thing is, I mean, I don't like people being oppressed or suppressed. Does that make sense? They were part of the coalition. NPP decided to go into partnership with APRC and, you know, is it NRP? Yes. In this local government elections, sidelining PPP, and that got to me, to be honest. This is the reason why when PPP came headhunting for me, I said I will do it. Do you know what I mean? These are the reasons why I have gone to PPP. If it was, as I said, if it was for financial gains, I would have definitely gone to NPP, because some people from some quarters spoke to me about, you know, running on an NPP ticket, but it wasn't my kind of thing. I wasn't interested at all, to be honest. But when PPP came and looking at what was happening and looking at the political climate, I thought this is the right time, and PPP is the best place to go.
You know what's going to happen? You know, in this local government, in some elections, it's the party that really
matters.
Sells the candidate.
Yes.
But in some other places, the candidate that takes the party.
That's what's happening.
What would be in the case? The PPP is not very strong there anymore.
And this is the thing, and I think this is the opportunity for PPP. For me, vying for the mayorship and running on a PPP's ticket, it's definitely going to sell PPP, and this is an opportunity for them to possibly come back into the political limelight. So many Banjulians have decided to join me now, and I believe PPP will capitalize on this, put up all the necessary structures now, and then possibly participate in other elections.
But they want a seat in parliament.
Two seats? No, 2 seats before they lost. Yeah, previously they won 2 seats, and Tuma got expelled from the party, or there's an issue, and Mohamed Daw lost the elections, the last elections. They had a councillor seat in Banjul in Afdai as well. Banjul, I would say previously was predominantly PPP.
PPP, of course.
Yes. No, it's not.
I would expect Tuma to be still sympathetic to PPP. So your candidate, for example.
I grew up with Tuma. We went to the same madrasa. We're actually from the same street, Denton. I mean, 2 houses away from each other. I know her very well. I have spoken to her. Unfortunately, she's already...
But said she's supporting UDP.
Who Ibufai? No, Tuma is. She is. No, that's right. I mean, she's told me that she's already given her vote to Rohi Low and supporting Rohi. She's put up candidates in Banjul, 3 councillors, and all of them are running on the PPP ticket. So, I mean, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, that's her choice. Yes, that's her choice.
Well, I think they have a common enemy there. They don't want the NPP to take.
I think this is the issue. This is the issue there in Banjul.
But people are about us. How serious is your candidate, all your aspirations, aren't you tomorrow going to be taken away by either the UDP or the NPP?
I don't think that. I think we've
Will
gone past.
you definitely put your name in the ballot box?
I think we've gone past that bridge already. I mean, to be
You'll not be bought over by one party or the other.
I cannot see that happening unless and until PPP itself as a party decides to withdraw their sponsorship. But if that's the case, I can see my own team. I've got a team called Dekali Banjul that group has always been there ever since. I think way back from 2016 they've been there. And if that's the case, but Dekali Banjul will run as an independent ticket.
So Jawo, definitely you'll have your name in the ballot.
I will definitely have my name in the ballot, inshallah. The idea is to look at bringing social housing, as I said. We look at how best we can digitalize the system, because up till now, Banjul City Council is collecting revenue manually, and it's manual system that we've got. So we need to look at how best we can make best use of technology now. The other thing that I would like to look at is looking at how to zone Banjul into different zones. We need to have a residential area, demarcate Banjul into proper zones, have a residential area, commercial area, and industrial area, and again have an administrative area. Again, look at parking lots as well, as it's happening in other cities. You go to Dakar, you go to places like that, vehicles that are plying into the city, we need to have proper parking facilities for them. I mean, the revenues coming from there the revenues generated from there could also be used into into providing services for our local people. These are things that we would be looking at in Banjul, inshallah.
You know what interests me?
Yes.
I've not talked about is how you spoke about it. Me, as things progresses, I'm beginning to have very zero tolerance for politics.
Okay.
But there are some issues in Banjul. If you look at it at the other side, Tanbi, you call it Tanbi.
The wetland,
It's now being taken over by investors, quote unquote, building all over the place. And we are currently doing a story on Banjul, and part of the things I had seen is that you talked about the dump site. That's the dump site near the pump station.
It is.
It's there. That's crazy, but also the wetland. Because the wetland is where it's like Nyanjai calls it the lungs of Banjul.
It is. It's the breeding ground, actually.
It is true. Interestingly, but
no, what's happened, I mean, part of my plans is to look at how best we can possibly use that wetland as a green space and bring back ecotourism in Banjul. This is something that we're looking at. And, you know, with PPP and Dekali Banjul, we've done a plan in relations to that. Because, as you said, most of the investors are encroaching onto the wetland. And what happens is those mangroves, I'm not sure whether some of you people are aware, it deals with the flash floats that we have in Banjul. This is why Nyang was saying it's kind of the...
I think the Banjul under the mayor trying to plant trees, along the coast.
They're planting. They're building. Place all over the place.
And whether people realize
there the other day, I could not recognize
the place.
And where are the investors coming from? Because
It is an industrial
coming from. Because I think I heard BCC complaining about it.
BCC did complain about that. You've got like parking lot that's been built there. There's like a massive warehouse. You've also got that container terminal that's also been built. You've got garages coming up, people putting up garages. So it's like an industrial area. And I don't think people need to be touching that. This is the reason why we're having the problems this is the reason why we had the problems we had in the past. So the floods. So what we want to see, and people do not realize most of the birds that you see coming from Europe during the winter months, that's where they nest.
I see.
Do you know what I mean? So we need to safeguard that place, and touching that green zone would definitely affect Banjul. So if we want, and do not forget that Banjul is below sea level as well. So any form of
who do you blame for that? The central government?
Both the central government and again the city council, because it's under the council.
A lot of. But anyway, this is too
go on, Mustapha.
No,
I've been calling you.
Let's just have. We have only a few minutes to go. Let's go. Okay, Banjul, your area. We wish you good luck.
Thank you.
All right. How do you see the election itself? The parties, the key players, the UDP, the NPP, they are the biggest one, the NPP coalition. In Banjul, for example, you, of course, would say you will be the winner. Of course. So, okay. Let me make your job easy. You wins Banjul.
Yeah.
Who do you think wins KM?
Interesting. It would be a tough battle in Kerr. Yeah,
You would
a very tough battle between NPP
Baji and Talib.
between Baji and Talib, and I'm not sure. I mean, I think Talib would definitely, the comments that he made recently would definitely haunt him in these elections.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Really?
the Jola comment that he made recently.
You mean he made some gaffes?
Yeah, he did. I mean,
okay.
recently. It was in the press. I read it from you guys anyway. So, and I guess that would definitely haunt him. And I believe if APRC team up with, and they're quite sincere about that, they team up with NPP, it might be a done deal for them.
What about West Coast?
Ooh. West Coast, I've got a candidate there. I've got a female candidate. PPP is putting up Jainaba. Yes, she's originally from Sintet. But she lives in Birkama, and she's the only candidate out of all of them that comes from Birkama. And I believe because of the phony connection as well, she can definitely make it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So you are not bothered with the Yankuba.
I am no. I mean, but what happens is the NPP votes will split. Let's face it.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got in the primaries. I think GT had, was it 29 or 31
in the initial
votes?
vote.
Exactly, in the initial vote. So you're talking about half of the population going.
GT believe 99% of people.
Exactly. So going with GT, and again NPP would take the other half. So with UDP,
you want to say between UDP and PPP?
It would be between UDP and PPP. That would be it. Trust me, it will be. And I think, I mean, they need to give an opportunity to Jainaba. This is the first time she's coming, a female candidate as well, and I believe she would make a good chairperson.
Okay. You know, maybe if you go to campaign now, you tell them, okay, let's forget about this party callers. You do what they call positive discrimination.
Yeah. I would go to
the woman and say, forget about PPP. Vote for a woman.
Vote for a woman in Birkama. No. She's had her chance, hasn't she? She's had her chance. Let's face it. Jailaba's not had any chance, so that's it.
I wanted to say that was a good one.
No. I think my sister would have to give up this time. Yeah, she needs to give it. Yeah, she has done what she needed to do. So I think, I mean, we need someone with a fresh kind of mindset to come in and look at the council and take the council to another level.
And that's Jawo.
That's Jawo.
Ebrima Jawo, Mustapha Darboe, and Sait Matty Jawo. Thank you, all of you, for being on the Brunch this week. We will be back next week. Until then, have a nice weekend.
Thank you.
We live in a day and age where technology is creating a world without borders, filled with unlimited potential to improve the lives of the people around us. Innovarex Global Health ushers in a new way of leveling the playing field with increased access to quality healthcare services delivered at your doorstep. Our qualified professionals are equipped with state-of-the-art point-of-care testing technology to conduct tests such as kidney function, liver function, electrolyte tests, body composition, hemoglobin, A1C, and many more services with the highest efficiency in delivering results. The addition to our flagship Wellness on Wheels, more fondly known as WOW Delivery Service, brings the entire clinical experience full circle. IGH has remained committed to creating the future of healthcare delivery. Gone are the days of sending loved ones outside the country for basic medical services. Innovarex Global Health offers a new peace of mind and takes pride in delivering the quality of care we all deserve.
Islamic microfinance is becoming an increasingly popular mechanism for poverty alleviation, especially for developing countries around the world. This microfinance service adheres to the principles of Islam as a form of social responsibility. Yona Islamic Microfinance is the Islamic microfinance of choice in the Gambia, trustworthy and reliable. At Yona Islamic Microfinance, we provide savings products, current accounts, financing products in conformity with Islam. In addition, Yona Islamic Microfinance also offers local and international remittances, takaful fund, management of zakat, management of awqaf, trading and investment, and building of strategic partnerships to bring financial services to the doorstep of the poor with donor projects, madrasas, youth organizations, women groups, and farmer organizations. Make a choice with Yona Islamic Microfinance today. For more information on Yona Islamic Microfinance, call 377-2151 or 9832-151 or visit Yona head office at Tipa Garage, Bakote, or visit any Yona branch located countrywide near you.